Hearing.
Okay.
There we go. Hey, everybody, this is Trisha Turpinoff with Listen, Learn, and Leverage. This is where we are going to expose your blind spots so that you can grow your entrepreneurial business. Today, we have the lovely Nancy McKay on with us. She is with Amazing Outlook Coaching, and she is a life and Equus coach. And you're probably asking, what does all that mean? Well, I'm going to let Nancy tell us about that. I already know. So
Yes, you do. You got to experience it firsthand.
yes. Oh my gosh, those horses. They're amazing. Oops, I just let the cat out of the bag, but we wanted to anyway, didn't we? Well, actually, I guess we could start by give us a little background of why you decided to become an Equus coach. It's very unusual.
It is unusual. It is unusual. So in July of 2017, I was in Santa Fe for a oil and gas conference that I used to work in the oil and gas industry. So I was in Santa Fe for a conference, and I was looking through the things to do in Santa Fe sort of magazine, and there was an advertisement for Equus coaching. And I thought, God, I've heard so much about that sort of thing, about how intuitive horses were, and I haven't been around horses much in my life,
Really?
but it just really intrigued me.
Right.
So I decided to book an appointment. So I did that on my way out of town, and it was the most magical experience. It was just unbelievable. And so, that really started churning in my head. And then when I was in my life coach training program with Martha Beck, we were in California for a meet and greet. And actually the week before that, I was in Tucson for a women's Equus retreat.
Oh, wow.
So I was in Tucson one weekend working with horses, which was heaven. And then the following weekend, I was in California, and I got to do another workshop with horses.
Wow.
And so by the time I was done, it was like, I was hooked, right?
Yes, the message was clear.
The message was very, very clear. And I just couldn't not pursue it, because the messages that I got from the horses, and the incredible feeling I had when I was around them,
right,
made me realize that this was something that was important for me. And it was really, I was just getting messages left and right that this was what I needed to do.
Right.
To include in my life coaching. So, the thing about working with horses is you've got to be in the round pen with the horse. So, you have to be here in Colorado and on site, or wherever I am working with the horses. But with life coaching, you can do it just like this, virtually over Zoom or on the telephone. And so geographically, it's not a problem.
Right.
But, I can't bring I don't have a horse, but I couldn't bring the horse upstairs here to visit with you on camera.
It'd be
much
different,
as I'd like to. So I just have pictures of them back there.
Those are awesome. Yeah. Well, and so what would you say, what do you think is the most powerful concept that you teach your clients?
Oh, well, gosh, the most powerful concept that I work with my clients is mindset. And that's because, we have inner wisdom that most of us, I think, probably don't give ourselves enough credit for. Yeah. So, when I was working with you, there was nothing that I could tell you about you that you didn't already know. You have the inner wisdom. I might be able to help you unpack it.
Right.
but you know deep down what's what, right? For
Right.
you. So, but what happens is our thoughts get in the way
Yeah.
of what we really know to be true for ourselves. We let culture get in the way and all kinds of nonsense, cloud our minds, right?
Right.
And then we think that it's our circumstances, whatever the circumstances are,
Right.
that's the truth, and that our thoughts about the circumstance are really what is at the root of or we think the circumstances is the root of everything when it's really our thoughts about the circumstance.
Exactly.
So, one of my favorite lines is pain is inevitable, suffering is optional. And the suffering comes from our thoughts.
Absolutely.
So, for instance, like when I got cancer, cancer is a circumstance. It's neutral. It's neither good nor bad. It's a circumstance.
Right.
Now, I could have thought, why me?
Right.
This is horrible. This is gonna, this will kill me, whatever. And instead and I wasn't in coach training at this point, when I was
Wow.
diagnosed with cancer. But there was a part of me that knew I was going to be okay. That's not to say I didn't have fear around it, but I never said, why me?
Right.
And I never felt like it was the end of the world. And as it turns out, it was one of the biggest gifts I've ever been given because
Wow.
it changed my life.
Right.
It made me wake up, and it changed my perspective on everything. And that's why I'm a coach now, is
Wow.
because, and if I hadn't gotten cancer, then I would have been happy with the status quo of my life.
Wow.
And,
That's very powerful.
it's amazing the way things happen. And if you're open to looking at all the angles, and
Right.
just being open and willing to
I
learn.
agree. I totally agree. And that's so funny that you say. I was listening to someone the other day and they said something very powerful, that fear and hope both believe in a future that hasn't happened yet.
Exactly.
Isn't that crazy? I mean, you just totally reminded me of that. And funny that I just heard it the other day and I wrote it down because it's so true. Like, you get a choice. That's the
Oh,
thing about mindset, isn't it?
absolutely.
You
Everything
have
is
a
a choice.
choice.
Yeah.
Yeah, it
Everything
was
is.
just like, great
Everything's a
example.
decision.
Oh,
Yeah. Everything's a decision. And the reason why fear is so, both fear and hope are living in the future. So it takes us out of the present moment, and fear is just um, you know it's perfectly natural for fear to come up for us. And when we beat ourselves up because we're afraid, that's not good. But there are ways to look at fear and go, is this true?
right.
Is there a reason for me to really be afraid? And, chances are there's not a bear chasing you, or, you're not about to run into the back of a semi truck or whatever. Those are things that are truly fearful, that get your adrenaline going so that you can react, right?
Yes.
But opening up a bill that is for more money than you've got in your checking account doesn't have to generate fear. That can generate faith.
Right.
That everything is taken care of, that right now in this moment I'm perfectly safe.
Right.
Nobody's chasing me.
Nope.
I'm in, I've got a roof over my head. I got my cup of coffee, you know, life is good, you
Right.
know, and we figure things out, but we don't have to be, afraid of it. One of my coaches used to say, our thoughts can be like a toddler running around in our brain with a butcher knife,
That's awesome.
and it's true because we just let it go rampant, and that's when we lose perspective, is
Right.
when we're just spinning and, not thinking clearly.
I love that.
Isn't that great?
Oh my God. That, like, I call them the mean girls. I've heard mind monkeys, the itty bitty beep committee,
Yep.
but that is hilarious. A toddler running around in your mind with a knife
Yep.
or in your
Butcher
head.
knife. Yeah.
Oh, butcher knife.
Yeah. It's not a paring knife. It's a butcher knife.
Butcher knife. Yeah, let's put butcher on there. There we go. Or a cleaver.
Yeah, exactly.
Really scary. That is really interesting. Yeah. And I love that we have choices. That's what I love about what you do is people hear the word mindset and I feel like they run from it. And I really feel like your success is really very entangled in your mindset. And if you don't unweave that,
Yeah.
it's hard for you to go further.
Oh, absolutely. Everything is based on your mindset. Everything.
Yeah.
Everything.
It's
and if you look at your choices, if you look at things as a choice,
right,
then that makes all the difference in the world, because it takes you from victimhood to
Ooh.
being in charge, being in control of your mind.
Yes.
Right.
I love that.
So, you can, and it's not until you really understand that you are choosing to be a victim.
Yeah, absolutely.
That you will be able to change how you perceive things. And, people who are truly victimized, people who have experienced physical abuse or an attack or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
There's a moment, there's a time for acknowledging that is what happened, right? But then you can either live there in victimhood,
right,
or you can say, okay, now what am I going to do so that I'm not suffering?
Yeah.
That was painful. It happened. I acknowledge it. I accept it. But I don't have to live there.
Right. It doesn't have to define anyone, who they are.
Right.
Yeah. Well,
and you can take that experience and grow from it.
Oh, absolutely. Well, and wouldn't you say that's the benefit of having a coach, is that you're filling up people, you're teaching them they don't have to be a victim, and you're giving them tools to move forward in their life.
Exactly. Because, one of the things that, I've always been a personal development junkie, so to speak. I've got a library, this bookcase is only a fraction of what I've got. And, so I've been really interested in all the things, right? But until you really have somebody working with you one-to-one, and you're able to see it from a different perspective. And coaches are not your best friend. They are not going to agree with everything that comes out of your mouth. They're not going to, pat you on the back and say, there, it'll all be all right. Coaches challenge you. They're going to challenge your thoughts and beliefs so that you can find that inner wisdom of yours. I will never, like I said to you earlier, I will never tell any of my clients something about themselves that deep down inside they don't already know. because
Right.
everyone has this inner wisdom. It's whether or not they know how to tap into it. And
Right.
that's what I help them do, is learn how to tap into what they know is their truth.
Absolutely. Oh yeah. And I think you do that awesome. And when I was in the round pen with the horses, what was really interesting is Smokey liked me and he came over to me, but it was like when Smokey wanted to. But Chester, like he was like there to impress me and he ran around the pen until we started. And then he came right over and he was like glue. And it was so cute. And beyond that though, beyond, what's really important about all of that is that the horses were so confirming. And it was so interesting because we talked about my fear of success. And when we talked about that, the questions that you led up to me going, aha, of course I know that. You're right. They were all in me already. And somewhere I knew it. And I just couldn't get to it without your help. And it was so awesome that the horses knew that I was getting there and that I was getting in, that I was really tapping into where I needed to be because they were there and confirming. And, you know, that's something I'd love you to talk about is that people who don't know anything about horses, like I don't ride horses, but I have photographed them for years and I love them because of their power, that herd mentality. Like you had
Mhm.
said to me, they really want to be with horses, but we're a good second as long as we're being honest with ourselves. That's what
Right.
attracted the horses to me.
Exactly.
And talk a little bit about, you don't have to worry about if you're in Colorado or you want to fly to Colorado, that they are their support. They're not going to harm you or scare you.
Right. And horses are gentle giants that, unless they've been mistreated, they're not going to be um they're not going to be mean. They're
Right.
not mean.
No.
They they will do anything to not run over you. For instance, if you were standing in the middle of a pasture and a herd of horses came running, they would run around you. They wouldn't trample you down, unless they
Wow.
felt that you were ready to attack them, and then they,
Exactly.
God
That's
knows.
different.
But, yeah. Um, but horses are herd animals and they're prey animals. So they're very, their intuition is a, a source of protection for them.
Yeah.
So, their eyes are on the sides of their heads, so they can't see directly in front of their nose and they can't see directly behind their tail. So those are
Right.
two areas that you want to be aware of, that they can't see you. So if, for instance, there was a fly or something that was bothering them, they might kick out, not knowing that you're down back there, right?
Right.
Or they might, bound their head up and down if they don't know that you're right there. So you just have to be aware of what they can see and what they can't see.
Right.
But their ears are like radar.
Yeah.
Their ears are constantly going like this, and they'll lay down if they're pissed off, and but that's what they're really, that's they're very aware of what's going on around them at all times.
Yeah.
And so, like if there's a couple horses in a pasture, you'll frequently see them standing side by side, but tail to nose. So,
Oh.
and that's so, one guy can look forward and the other, the other guy can look the other way. And then they've kind of got their bases covered, so that they don't have to worry about attack. Because what happens is, mountain lions or, prey or predators will
Mm-hmm.
come up, and because they know that horses can't see directly behind their tails, they'll jump onto their backs from straight in the
Wow.
back. And so they have to be aware of their surroundings. So they're always aware of what's going on,
Wow.
always. And they have this incredible intuition.
They
So
do.
they don't want to join up with anything that's not being authentic. And the wonderful thing about horses is They don't have judgment. They don't have an agenda. They don't have, oh, I really like that top you're wearing, or, those earrings are spectacular, or whatever. They don't really care
Right.
about that stuff, right? All they care about is, are you being honest with yourself? So, if you had come into the round pen and I said, so Trisha, tell me what's going on. And you said, everything is perfect. I don't have a thing to work on. Well, Smokey and now Chester, after he got done showing off,
right,
he would have gone over to the other side of the round pen. And so it's, they both would have had nothing to do with you, because they knew that you were full of it. Right?
Right.
So, but it wasn't until you said, I have this big dream and I'm afraid that I'll actually make it happen. And it scares me.
Yeah.
Here came Smokey.
Totally. He did.
He lined right up with you, and, and he said that, you're on it. Exactly what's in your heart. And I'm here to tell you that that's okay.
Yeah, that was incredible. That was an incredible feeling to have an animal with that type of intuition just glom onto you.
Yeah.
And he was,
I could have said, if we had been doing that session over Zoom like this, I could have said, is that, is everything really perfect? And we would have gone back and forth and worked on that for a while.
Of course.
Before you were able to really understand that there was a fear there for you. Right.
Absolutely.
I would have challenged it. I would have chipped away at it. We would have gotten there.
Right.
But we wouldn't have gotten there in, what was it, a minute?
Well, yeah.
With Smokey.
Absolutely.
And that's the thing that's so beautiful about Equus coaching, is it expedites the process.
Right.
Because they're on it. They're like, I don't have that, I'm pretty intuitive, but I don't have that level of intuition. Horses just, they're magic. They're magic.
They really are. And what they bring to you is magical when they come up to you. And I've had enough therapy in my life to know that if you're going to go into a round pen with a half-ton animal, you better be honest. Or just any kind of therapy, just be honest. Why would you pay for anything and not be honest? But some people can't get there. I know.
Yeah. So, sometimes it takes time, but that's the beauty of the horses. And, the effect that they have on me when I'm coaching is like, oh my God, just for me to be able to witness what's happening, but they also work me while they're working with the client, and so, that's what I just have to kind of throw up my hands and say it's magic, because it really is a feeling of transformation that is unexpected.
Yes.
It's so unexpected. And it happens every time.
Yeah. I believe it. I am not surprised at all.
And the feeling that I get when I'm working with a client affirms that I'm doing the right kind of work. I mean, it's just, it lights me up. It fills me up. I feel like I'm making a difference in people's lives. And I'm benefiting from watching the magic happen.
Absolutely. Well,
it's a win-win.
It's a total win-win for everybody. For the horse, it's a win-win-win. It's for you, me, the horse. Well, and what's interesting is the energy just got higher and higher as we started to unpeel my onion.
Yeah.
And what was super fascinating were those two cats that came over, because they
That's right.
Wasn't that hilarious? They weren't even part of that barn, but they're like, wow, there's some good energy going
There's
here.
some energy going on here and I want to be a part of it. It was amazing.
That blew me away. So
Yeah.
I want to just say that anyone who has ever even thought about opening themselves up to this kind of therapy, give it a try at least
Thank you.
once.
Yeah.
It'll be addictive. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Well, and speaking of addiction, you talk a lot about addiction. I didn't even mean to segue into that, but I just was like, oh yeah, that's right.
That was great.
Speaking of addiction, you do a lot of work with people who are looking to stop drinking alcohol, or even but people can work with you for a variety of reasons. It doesn't have to be for any kind of an addiction, but talk a little bit about your work with addiction.
Well, for me, it's just kind of a natural direction for me to add into my bag of tricks because I'm a recovering alcoholic. I got sober in 2009. I'm coming up on 12 years here next month.
Congrats.
And yeah, it's just kind of a natural place for me to, I'm kind of an expert there. So,
absolutely.
And once again, though, everything comes back to mindset, because you can convince yourself that you're a loser and you're nothing more than a drunk or a drug addict or, whatever, and feel like, well, let's have another cocktail because there's no point. Right. And so, but you can change all that if you change your mindset. And, it's a physically, most addictions are physically addictive, but they're also psychologically addictive. And so, once you can get the physical toxins cleared, and, and I'm not a rehab center or anything like that. I don't even attempt to detox someone who needs medical detox assistance, because detoxing from alcohol can be deadly if you're in really bad shape. And so, if anyone that's watching is going through that or knows someone who's going through that, they need to be in the hospital to do that safely. But once the toxins are cleared, then it's mind work, and it's all psychological. And if you think that you need something, that's not true. It's just not true. So, so we talk about that, and I challenge that, and, why do I? And we explore why alcohol or drugs or food or Netflix or gambling or whatever the hell it is seems to be your, drug of choice that helps you cope. And, there's other ways that you can learn to help cope with your circumstances, your life circumstances. And that's why we all utilize other things to help us cope, is because we're not happy with our lives.
Right.
We think that things should be different than they are. And that's the bottom line, is it shouldn't be this way. And so in order for me to handle it, I need to do something to numb out these feelings, because I don't like feeling this way.
Right.
Well, if you don't want to feel that way, then you have to think differently.
Right.
Because your thoughts create your feelings. So that's, and then you take actions based on your feelings, and then you get results based on those actions. And so if your result is something that you don't want, then you have to go back to what the thought is that created the result.
Right. I hear you. And that's so important. I think people get really scared to hire someone like you because mindset's so big. And I know I said that before, but it's where you have to start. How do you can't change those negative feelings without help, because the alcohol obviously isn't helping or whatever your drug of choice is.
Right.
Yeah.
And like, there, you know, there's a saying, you know, you can't do this alone. And
No.
and you know, it may not take a coach to help you do it, but you know, there's, you know, and I'm going to get into the spiritual kind of woo woo about all of it, but you really can't do it alone. You've got to have help from the universe or your higher power or God or whatever you call that.
Right.
And if you don't believe in a higher power, then that's something that we can work on, you know, and it's not religion. It doesn't have to be, you know, a God-fearing sort of thing.
Right.
You just have to be open to understand that there's something greater than you working at work.
Right.
You know,
For you.
for you. Right.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, and I've had, you know, several 2x4s come right across my head from the universe, you know, and said, you know what, this isn't
Yep.
working and I need to do something big to get your attention.
Right.
And,
I hear you.
you know, thank God I listened.
Exactly. Yeah. It's like, yeah, when you keep getting hit over the head with the same message, I always find that second or third time, I'm like, okay, I've got to pay attention to that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's time to make a change. And if I can't do it myself, I need to find someone, you
Right.
know, who can,
Right.
or utilize the tools that I've learned.
Right. And, you know, and like I said, you know, we try to kid ourselves, you know, I can do it alone. Thank you
Right.
very much. You know, I've got all these books, right? I can do it. I can, you know, well, sure. If you want to take, you know, 10 years to read every book in your bookcase, cover to cover, twice or 3 times, because that's what it's going to take.
Yeah.
And if you have that kind of time, more power to you. Working with a coach will speed that up.
Absolutely.
And will save you a lot of money. You know, I used to be in the kitchen and bath design business too. And, you know, people would say, well, why do I need to hire a designer? Well, do you want to save some? Because you're going to make really expensive mistakes along the way if you don't have a professional helping you. And this is kind of the same thing. It's,
Yeah.
you know, you're welcome to go at it all by yourself. But if you want to take that, you know, the time and the money that you're going to spend,
Right.
you know, and cut it down to a palatable size, then
Right.
work with a coach.
Well, yeah. Well, I think one of the things people don't understand is, yes, in the beginning, you're fearful, but as you start to move through the process with a coach and you do your homework and, you know, it gets easier.
Yeah.
And it gets faster. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, okay, this is pretty awesome.
Well, and you learn to depend on yourself a little bit more. I mean, because you learn to cultivate trust in yourself because you're discovering your inner wisdom.
Right.
So, you know, as much as I love working with my clients, you know, long term, you know, eventually I want to cut them loose, you know,
Right.
because they don't need me anymore.
Right.
And they've learned how to listen to their inner wisdom. And that's the
awesome.
key. And
Really.
so, you know, like you said, we peel the layers of the onion back and they discover what's their truth. And then, you know, and then they've learned all these tools that
Right.
help them discover this stuff, right?
Absolutely.
So then they can utilize those for the rest of their lives.
Yeah,
And,
that's
you know,
awesome.
gain some new stuff along the way. And, you know, the goal is that everybody wants to be happy.
Yes.
Right? We just want to be happy.
Yes. Practice your happy.
And this is one of the ways you get there.
Oh, it's so true. Well, tell us, I know you have a gift for our audience today. Tell us about it. I'm going to put it in the chat as well.
And And you're going to have to refresh my memory because I forgot
Oh,
what I did.
so you were going to be, they can request a copy of your part in Ready to Fly. And
Oh,
I'm going to put
yes.
it in, I'm going to put it in the chat.
I would love that. Yeah,
Absolutely.
my chapter in Ready to Fly Volume 3 is called The Intersection of Desperation and Grace.
Awesome.
And it talks about my story of drinking, over drinking, alcoholically drinking,
Right.
suicide attempts, cancer, and my change in perspective on my life and what got me here today.
That's awesome.
And, you know, I've gotten lots of compliments and whatnot. So yes, and I believe that's amazingoutlookcoaching.com/gift
Gift chapter, gift dash chapter.
dash chapter.
I put it in there. Oh, wait, hold on. It said something about it's been removed.
No.
Oh, nope, it's there. That's weird. It says, when I put it into Facebook, it says 301 moved permanently, but it is good. So go ahead, because yeah, there it is.
Okay, well,
Right there.
if
there. I clicked on it.
Okay.
It's there, but that's weird that it just
Pretty.
says.
Yeah,
Interesting.
that's frightening.
It works. It works.
There's the technology part of this, of all of this that sends me, you know, I need to work on my mindset because, you know,
Exactly. Yes.
you know,
might wanna
I tell
chat with your-
myself I'm technologically challenged, and
we
so-
all have our moments.
yes, we do. I know just enough to get me into trouble.
I hear you. Yes, you might want to chat with your web designer just in case it goes
That
there.
would be me, unfortunately.
Oh. Well, it works, so that's a good thing. Oh my gosh. Well, thank you, Nancy. This has been enlightening. This is what Listen,
Great.
Learn, and Leverage is all about, is that exposing the thing, you know, everyone thinks they know what you do, and really you do something totally different than everyone else, and everyone does.
Oh, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I appreciate the opportunity to talk with you. This has been a blast. I always have fun with you. Fun.
Me too. I even took notes. Thank you. I learned so much from my interviews. It's fantastic.
Well, thank you. This has really
bet.
been fun.
Awesome. Thank you, everybody, for joining in to Listen, Learn, and Leverage, and we'll be back next week. Thanks
Okay.
again, Nancy.
Bye.
Bye.